So, good morning. We're learning Tractate Shabbos 84, A1. Omar Rabbi Akiva is the name of the chapter, Perik Chi. So, V'lechananyo tiltul alideshvosh mitiltul. According to Chananyo, carrying by oxen is considered carrying with regard to rendering it susceptible to tumah. The Gemara says, Ditnan, sholosh agolois hein. With regard to susceptibility to tumah, there are three sorts of wagons. Asuyu katidrot me'amidos. A wagon shaped like a chair is susceptible to contamination with midos tumah, since it is designated for sitting upon. Kemito tumeo tumemes. One built like a bed, flat, is susceptible to contamination with either corpse tumah or any other sort of contamination with either corpse tumah or any other sort of contact generated tumah, but not to contamination with midos tumah. One used for transporting stones is not susceptible to contamination with any sort of tumah at all. Rabbi Yochanan stated regarding the law of a wagon used for transporting stones, but if the wagon has receptacle fit to containing pomegranates, it is susceptible to contamination with either corpse tumah or any other sort of contact-generated tumah. The Gemara will prove shortly the wagon used for stones is one of great size and requires oxen to draw it. It's not enough to take it with horses, you need oxen. Nonetheless, as Rabbi Yochanan explains, it will be susceptible to tumah if its bed can contain pomegranates. What does that mean? If its bed can contain pomegranates?
So if it could hold anything, it would be...
Evidently, even if a vessel is so large that it must be carried by oxen, it is not excluded from susceptibility to tumah. Accordingly, a sheep that requires oxen to carry it will be susceptible to tumah according to Chananyo, so long as it is customarily carried both laden and empty. So the Gemara cites another Mishnah in the same chapter of Kalim to prove that the stone transporting wagon of the aforesaid Mishnah is indeed one of great size. Sholosh tevos hein. There are three sorts of chests, tevos, boxes. Teva shepischo mitzido tumeo midos. A chest whose opening is from its side is susceptible to contamination with midos tumah. Milamailo tumea tumei meis. One whose opening is from the top is susceptible to contamination with either corpse tumah or any other sort of contact-generated tumah, but not to contamination with midas tumah, with stepping on something or carrying. V'abo b'mida tehiro miklum, but a chest that is of great size is not susceptible to contamination with any sort of tumah at all. Tanu Rabbanon. Midras klei cheres toher. The midras, the act of being trod upon of an earthenware vessel by a zav will not render it tameh, even if it is a vessel designated for supporting the weight of a person. Since earthenware is not susceptible to midos tumah, Rabbi Menashe Amitay, afasfin also a sheep. What did Rabbi Menashe mean to say? His point could not have been to exclude a sheep from midos tumah, for since the pasuk excludes a sheep from tumah, it obviously excludes it from midos tumah as well. Moreover, a sheep is not even fit for midos tumah, since it is not made for supporting people's weight. What was the point of Rabbi Menashe's ruling? Amar Rav Zavid.
I mean, there's a difference between an ocean-going ship and a
Why does it say sheep is not made for supporting people's weight? It does.
I don't know.
It does support people's weight. Amar Zvi, let's see. Achi Komar, Midos kli cheres Torah. The midos of an earthenware vessel by zav will not render it tummy, since an earthenware is not susceptible to midos tuma. Magor tummy, but an earthenware vessel contact with a zav will render it tummy. Since earthenware is susceptible to tuma generated through contact, usfina shel cheres tameo, and an earthenware sheep is also susceptible to contamination with tuma generated through contact. Kechananyu. This ruling regarding as an earthenware sheep is in accordance with the view of Hananyu, who includes earthenware sheeps, even those
Earthenware ships.
Earthenware. That's what I said. Earthenware sheep.
Metal ship.
Right. Even those not carried both while laden and while empty in susceptibility to tumah. Rabbi Menashe, the earthenware sheep is also not susceptible to contamination with tumah through contact. Kitana Didan, Rabbi Yossi is ruling in accordance with the view of our Tana. What is meant by the sheep is also not susceptible to tumah generated through contact? This is what the Bais actually said. Midras klicheres toher. Midras of an earthenware vessel by zav will not render it tummy. Since earthenware is not susceptible to midras tumah, magor tummy, but an earthenware vessel contact with a zav will render it tummy. V'shel eitz, in the case of a vessel of wood, bei midros or bei magor tummy, both its midras trotting upon and its contact will render it tummy. However, a boat of the Yarden is not susceptible to contamination with tumah through contact. Yisano didon. Is ruling according regarding a boat of the Yarden is in accordance with our Tana. The boat of the Yarden is also susceptible to contamination with Tumah Kechananyu in accordance with the view of Chananyu. How do we know the midras of an earthen vessel by a zav will not render the Tumah? A man who will touch his couch is contaminated until evening. Makish mishkav aloi compares the mishkav, referring to his couch. Pasuk compares the zav's couch to the zav himself. Mahu islato mikveh, just as a zav is one who has the ability to attain purification in mikveh. Av mishkav inam islato mikveh, so too must his couch be an article that has the ability to attain purification in mikveh. Accordingly, since an earthenware utensil cannot be purified of its tumah in a mikveh, it is not susceptible to midras tumah. Devei Rabbi Shmuel, the Academy of Rabbi Shmuel taught the following baisa. Kemishkav nidosu ielo. The pasuk states regarding a couch of zava, any couch upon which she lies will be to her as the couch of her time of nida. Makish mishkava lo compares the nida couch to the nida herself. Mahi is the tov mikveh, just as she can purify herself in a mikveh. Mishkava nami is the tov mikveh. So to her couch, an article that she touched, her article has the ability to attain purification in mikveh.
You're not going to throw the couch in the
Not couch, but utensils, things that you put in a mikveh. You can put in a mikveh, like kalim. Don't we table kalim?
Who does that? I mean, after the woman goes to the mikveh.
This is not nida. This is zava.
I thought it was nida. It says here, will be to her couch of her time of nida.
It says the pasuk states regarding the couch of a zava, any couch upon she lies.
Yeah, Dan.
So by referring to the couch of her time of nida, the pasuk compares the nida couch to the nida herself. In halacha, we don't table her couch in a mikvah.
I know that.
Since earthenware does not have the ability to attain purification in mikvah, earthenware cannot attain. The above source exclude earthenware from midras by limiting midras to article that can be purified of their tuma in a mikvah. The Gemara questions this limitation. From where do we know that a reed mat is susceptible to contamination with corpse tuma, even though it does not possess a receptacle. Vedinu. Uma pachin ketanim sheterim b'zav temei meis. It is known through a logical argument. If we find concerning small earthenware vials even though they are not susceptible to contamination with zav tuma, they are nonetheless susceptible to contamination with corpse tuma. Is it not logical that a reed mat, which since a zav can contaminate it with midras, is susceptible to contamination with zav tuma, will be susceptible as well to contamination with corpse tuma? We said 1 second, but a mat does not have the ability to attain purification in mikvah. It should in fact not be susceptible to midras. Since the Baisa nonetheless state that the mat is susceptible to midras, is apparently hold that even articles that cannot be purified in a mikvah will be susceptible to midras tuma. The Baisa thus contradicts the expositions presented above. Amabri Chanino, Shani also is different there in the case of a reed mat, since there are utensils in its class, utensils made of wood that can be purified in mikvah, it is not excluded from midras tuma, but in the case of earthenware, by contrast, there are no vessels in its class that can be purified in a mikvah. It is thus excluded from midras tuma. Amar Rachmon Litzan Me'ai Daito. May the Merciful One save us from this understanding, which means, since a reed mat cannot itself be purified in a mikvah, it remains excluded by the above expositions. It thus cannot acquire midras tuma. Adrab Rachmon Islam midaito didoch. He says, on the contrary, Rabbi Chanina responds in turn to Rabbi Law. He says to him, may the Merciful One save us from your understanding, so long as there are other articles in a given utensils class that can be purified in a mikvah, it will be susceptible to midras. The utensil itself need not have access to such purification. V'tamamai, what is the reasoning behind Rabbi Chanina's statement? If the analogy between a zav and his couch demands that the couch be like the zav, it stands to reason that the couch itself must be like a zav. Accordingly, only if it itself can be purified in a mikvah, should it be hold susceptible to midras tuma. The Gemara presents Rabbi Chanina's reasoning. Two psukim are written concerning tuma status of the zav's couch. Oh, here it's going to discuss the zav's couch. It is written, and a man who will touch his couch. First of all, what does couch mean? Maybe couch does not necessarily mean
what we think it means.
What we think a couch. But let's see. Since this pasuk is by identifying the couch as the zav's, compares the two, it implies that the couch will only be susceptible to midras if it itself can be purified in a mikvah. If it can be purified. Any couch, mishkav is something that he lays on. Any couch that the zav will lay upon will be contaminated. Since the pasuk does not identify the couch as the zav's, it implies that even if the couch cannot be purified in a mikvah, it is still susceptible to midras tuma. Akate said, how can this apparent contradiction be explained? Only as follows. Yesh b'minei afagav de'lisutov mikveh. The pasuk states, the verse that does not compare the couch to the zav, any couch, applies in a case where there are other utensils in a given vessel's class that can be purified in a mikvah. In that case, even though this particular vessel does not have ability to attain purification in mikvah, it will nonetheless be susceptible to midras tuma. However, in a case where there are no other utensils in the vessel's class that can be purified in a mikvah, the second verse, his couch, compares the zav's couch to the zav himself. Just as the zav can purify himself in a mikvah, so too must his couch be one that can be purified in a mikvah. Otherwise, will not be susceptible to midras tuma. So the Gemara presents another proof that earthenware vessels are not subject to contamination with midras tuma. The fact that midos of an earthenware vessel by a zav will not render it tummy can be proved from here. And any open vessel that has no cover fastened onto it, it is tummy. But if it has something that seals it, a cover fastened on top of it, it's remaining toy. Since in that case the vessel's exterior surface interposes between the tuma of the corpse and the interior of the vessel, preventing the vessel from becoming tummy. Is this verse not dealing even with a vessel that one designated as a seat for his wife, who is nida, and that she subsequently set upon while she was a nida? Certainly it is. Yet the merciful one stated that even such a vessel remains torah, since its exterior surface serves as an interposition between the corpse tuma and the interior of the vessel. The fact is that a seat used by a nida becomes tummy with midras. For even, it says 14, for even if this vessel was not originally intended for sitting upon, since it was later designated to forever remain a seat, it will acquire tumas midos, because it's a kli. Any utensil can be susceptible to tumah. And this law is that an article that is itself tameh cannot serve as interposition to tumah. How then can the exterior of this vessel prevent the corpse tumah from entering the vessel? Evidently, an earthenware vessel cannot be rendered tameh with midras, and since the nida accordingly does not contaminate this vessel, the exterior of the vessel will prevent the corpse tumah from entering. We thus see that an earthenware vessel is not susceptible to midos tumah. And that's the conclusion of all this discussion, that earthenware vessels are not susceptible to midos tumah. If it has tzomit pasil olav, if it has a seal cover fastened on top of it. The following Mishnah in the series deals with an aspect of the law of kilaim, the prohibition against sowing different species of seed together. The Mishnah focuses on how this prohibition pertains to planting different vegetables in a small garden patch. Okay, the Mishnah. Menayin la'aruga she'ishisha al shisha tfachim shezayim b'seichos chamisha zeroinin. From where do we derive that a garden patch that's 6 by 6 tfachim may be sown with 5 types of seeds? So this is really connected with the laws of kilaim, like the distance that you have to keep between one type of seeds to the other, let's say between cucumbers and tomatoes. So if you have a garden bed, over here it's called a garden patch, that is 6 tefachim by 6 tefachim. Let's say it's 30 inches by 30 inches. It's a small piece of land that you're allowed to plant 5 types of seeds on 30 inches. And there is actually a small diagram over here. So 4 on the 4 sides of the patch, like on the 4 corners, and 1 in the center. So if we have a square, we'll have on each of the corner of the square, let's say a 30-inch square. In each corner, one place we'll plant tomatoes. Over here we'll plant cucumbers. Over here we'll plant onion, and over here we'll plant zucchinis. So you have, and then you put one in the middle. In the middle, let's say you put a carrot. So this way you got 5 types of seeds in one 30-inch square without violating the laws of kilaim. That's the first part of the Mishnah. 4 on the 4 sides of the patch. That one, so each one in its corner and one in the middle. Shinema. How do we know this? This is written in I believe it's a pasuk in Yeshaya. Ki ko'oretz tzit tzimcho v'chagano zueres atzmiach. Yeah, it's Yeshaya 61:11. For it is stated, for like the earth gives forth its plant, and like a garden causes its seeds to sprout. Its seed is not stated, but its seeds. Gemara says, "My mashmo." What is the implication that 5 species of seeds may be sown in a garden patch 6 tefachim square? Like the earth gives forth its plant, each word denoting growth or vegetation is taken as reference to a separate species of seed. As follows: Toitzichat gives forth denotes one species. Tzimcho chat, its plant denotes one species. Hare trei, so there are 2. Zerueo trei, its seeds being plural denotes 2 more species. Ho'arba, there are 4. Tatzmiya chad causes to sprout denotes 1 more species. So they're breaking down the pasuk. It tells me that I have 5 types of species that can be planted on a 30, on a 5, 6, calls it a 5 tefachim. Shishot tefachim, 6 tefachim, which is about 30 inch. Yeah. Anyhow, tzimcho chad, you have Toitzi 1, Kikor is tzimchos, you break down the pasuk, each one referring to 1. Toitzi 1, tzimcho chad, and then Zerueo Trei, Zerueo is 2, and Tatzmiach is another one. Achamisho, the pasuk alludes to total 5 different species growing in a single garden patch. And we'll continue, God willing, tomorrow.
What time do you want me to come tomorrow? Like, if the licht benching is like 7:50 anyway.